Yo, what's up? This your boy, Home Team Brandon Leak. Always checking in with my homeboy, Naughty Dread. You gotta listen to Naughty Dread till the day you're dead, and that way you make sure you get your information fed.
Holy. Cool it. Rockin'. Jude.
Call people for me, cause I'm on fire. Always getting high, smoking la la la. Big rims on my car, so I'm sitting in the sky. 3 bad bitches with me, that's my nice.
Man, y'all already know what time it is. Same suit, just reheated. Another day for the truth. Well, hold on. What my shades at? Gotta get my shades on. I let my brother Drew, my little brother Drew, boss man Drew, with the track that I'm introing with. Yeah, call them people for me. I'm on fire. Y'all already know what time it is. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. Man, deep conversation that we gotta have today. But how everybody doing? You know, how's your week been going? How's your weekend been going? Man, I really worked hard today. Out on my 9 to 5 on my grind, and I was like, man, should I do the show? Should I not do the show? But you know, the spirit hit me and said, you got to go ahead and do this show because we got to talk about mental health and mental illness. And I want to know, how serious do we really take it? Do we really sympathize with those who are dealing with mental health issues? Those who are mentally ill? How do we really diagnose it? Does it need to be, in order for us to respect mental health and mental illness, is it something that has to be diagnosed by a doctor? Is it something that a person, you know, you dealing with a person, you diagnose it yourself? Is it something that we should just almost assume a person has based on a number of different reasons or situation? When you're dealing with people in the everyday world, do you just automatically say, you know what, it's possible that this person might be mentally ill? It's possible that this person might be going through something. Let me be patient with this person. Let me extend my kindness to this person. Allow me to not judge this person because I don't know this person. I don't know what this person is going through. I don't know what this person is dealing with. Or do we not really care? Do we not really sympathize with those who are mentally ill? That's my question for today. I got some stories I want to bring in. I ain't gonna waste no time. I see my partner Romero here in the green room, and this is you know, when I have this show, The Controversial Truth, every now and then I have serious topics. You know, we can make some fun, we can gloss over, but my partner Romero, sometimes we see things the same, sometimes we don't see things the same, but at the same time, I always respect his mindset and where he coming from. Unless he just, I don't debate the facts. Now, I can't debate the facts, but if it's fact, it's a fact. But when it just comes to opinion and the way people think, I respect his mind. So I'm going to bring him on in here. Romero, what's going on?
What up, man? Shoot, man, same old same, bro. You already know how it go.
Same suit, Jerry Heat.
That's it. I appreciate this topic because it's something that I can relate to, actually.
Well, we're going to dive into it. I got two, well, really, it's one story, but I want to bring some examples into it. And today, we had the tragic news of learning that Marshawn Kneeland, the defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys, just scored a touchdown Monday Night Football off a block punt, and he was found dead today. And I heard it earlier. Katja from Just Simply Sports, shout out to her. She alerted me to it, and then but it didn't say how he died or what happened. I didn't know if he had a heart attack. I didn't know, he got into a car accident. Didn't know what was happening. And while I was out on the ground, a lady brought it to my attention. She said, "You watch the Cowboys?" I said, "Yeah, I heard some tragic news earlier." Then she showed me. She said, "Yeah, he killed himself." And I said, "What?" He's just 24 years old. He said, "Yeah, he was running from the police." And then when she told me he was running from the police and all that type of thing, my mindset immediately went to they killed him and said he killed himself. That was what my mind went to. But as I continued to delve into the story and read the reports, it appears that he may have been suffering from some sort of mental illness at a young age, 24 years old. Now, he was a football player. He played high school, probably played college, and they're finding out that a lot of these athletes are getting CTE, and they ain't even played no pro football at all. So my question is, because and I'm gonna get to you. Let me kind of frame my question. Because we saw Lacey earlier this year. He was supposed to be a drafted player. He killed himself out there. He had got into a little incident that they was accusing him of something that he didn't do. And I always had this feeling, and I'm just being honest and open and transparent because I want to have this conversation, a serious conversation. If somebody killed themselves, most of the time I usually have little to no sympathy. I mean, if you can't sympathize for yourself, then how am I supposed to sympathize for you? If you off yourself, then it's hard for me to sympathize for you. But as I was saying that to myself earlier today, I paused and I asked myself, should I have sympathy for somebody who off themselves if they're dealing with mental health illness? That the mental health illness has to be diagnosed by a doctor for me to take it seriously, or could it just be something like family members knowing, or should I just automatically sympathize for people, period, because I don't know what they're going through and what kind of mental place they're in? Remember, tell me what's your opinion about this story with Marshawn Kneeland, and how do you feel about someone's taking their life in general?
Well, I'm gonna start with the latter part of the question first. I really do have mixed emotions when it comes to people killing themselves because on one hand, I'm saying, well, they made a choice. So should I feel bad for someone who made a choice? And typically these are conscious, cognitive people. And so I'll automatically in my mind go to, okay, he made a choice or she made a choice or however the scenario goes. Now, to get to the second part, when we talk about mental illness, because I actually was diagnosed with a mental illness when I was in the service. And so I understand that what is going on oftentimes when it comes to mental illness. So first of all, I'll just say what I was diagnosed with. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and an explosive disorder. I forgot what they call it, explosive something disorder. Anyway, so what I came to find out later as I started to discover who I am, I later found out what that really was me not being in control of my brain, my mind, which is what controls every part of you, your body. Your brain controls your body. So it'll control your mouth, everything that's happening. Your brain is pretty much in control. And so what I came to realize was most people aren't in control of their mind. So their mind will create emotions, and reactions, and oftentimes we don't take the time to think about what we're reacting about or what the consequences may be, because our brain takes over, and then that function, whatever that brain function is, that's making a reaction or causing the emotion that'll cause a reaction, is something that a lot of people do not have control over. So as I began to learn myself, who I am, and to understand that, wait a minute, it's my brain that's in control. When I have these intermittent explosive uh, outbursts, it's because my emotions are very high and I just want to react. And it can be very explosive. And so, but what I had to realize was, hey, that's me allowing my brain, my mind to control my body, and it may be controlling my body in a way that I'm not in control of, meaning the understanding person, the cerebral person who has the cognitive uh, understanding of the world and things around him and consequences and all that stuff. So once I began to realize, hey, I need to control my mind, because my mind is going to control my body. And my body is what gets me in trouble when I'm reacting certain ways. If I'm being explosive because of anger or emotions or whatever the case is.
Right.
And so I'm not a doctor now. I don't want anybody who's listening to me think that I'm prescribing for anything, because I'm not. I'm just telling you what I found out about
Right,
myself,
from your own experience.
someone who has been diagnosed
Right.
with mental issues. So I realized that if I don't get in control of that, then it's going to take me out, whether it gets me killed or go to prison forever, whatever the case is. I realize if I can't control that, eventually it's going to catch up to me, because I've had
Right.
some situations where things got explosive. So
Yeah.
I hope I just answered the question. And then, like I said, when it comes to the self-deletion, it's a choice. So do I have sympathy for them? I don't know if I'll have sympathy. It just sometimes depends on what the situation is. But I could say yes, because I understand it's because they don't have control over their mind.
Right.
So I could say yes, I have some sympathy, because it wasn't them, the person, the personality, persona that was doing this. This was simply the mind making the body do something oftentimes that cerebral person would not do.
Correct. You know what? Stacy just asked what is mentally ill, and that's what we're on the show today, trying to almost get to the bottom of, like, what is mental illness. I think there's a lot of different variations of mental health illnesses. Like you said, you were diagnosed with two things, and that kind of explains why you threw that chair at me that one time. Now I kind of understand. Okay, that nigga going through some things, but anyway, that's not ill enough. But on the real, when I talk about me having sympathy for, or not have, or having a lack of sympathy for someone who kills themselves, because I'm like, if you don't have no sympathy for yourself, why should I have sympathy for you? And then I think about guys like Junior Seau, who took his life. But Junior Seau clearly had CTE. His brain, he hadn't played football so long at the position he was at. The head, back then they were headhunting you. You tackle with your helmet a lot. You trying to get the knockout blow, and sometimes you knock yourself out. And so he played for so long and took so many hits. I felt bad for Junior Seau, because I really believe his brain had been damaged to a point where, like you said, maybe he couldn't control what he was doing and those things. So I have sympathy for him, because he was diagnosed. Well before he killed himself, he was diagnosed as having mental illness by a health professional. Then you got some people like Marshawn Kneeland. I'm not sure, I read the story, but in the story, I didn't see where he had been diagnosed at 24 years old by a professional. So I just take it as like almost like he was mentally weak and he killed himself. And that could be the furthest thing from the truth. I'm just telling you how I received it. Now, I remember growing up, I always didn't understand like how people got depressed. Like, what do you mean you depressed? Ain't in the world big enough, you just forget about it. Why are you depressed? Like, I didn't understand depression. And then I had a situation where I just didn't have enough vitamin D in my system, but I was depressed. And I didn't understand why I was depressed. I didn't understand why I was crying. I didn't understand why certain songs would hit me a certain way. I couldn't explain it. I knew that nothing was wrong with me mentally. As far as I knew, it had to be something in my body. But regardless of what it was, I got to feel what a depressed person feels like, and then I got to understand it. And now I sympathize more, or should I say, empathize with people who deal with depression. So, from that aspect, do we really care, or do we really sympathize with people who have mental health illnesses, or is it all based on our own personal experiences, and maybe it's somebody who's close to us that we know and that we sympathize for? Like, how does that work? Do we really care?
That's a great question because I'm not sure if a lot of people care. I'm really only able to speak for me, but and go back to what I said earlier. You know, you make a choice, and so I can live with your choice. You don't get to live with your choice, but at the same time, that the sympathy part is the loss of control, possibly. So many people, like we were just talking about, the emotions of make them react, make them do something, and depression. A lot of times it comes from trauma. And trauma is actually something that's happening on the inside of us. We experience traumatic experiences and traumatic situations, but trauma is what's going on inside of us. And so, how is our body dealing with the trauma that's happening within us? Is, I guess, the part that will make someone be sympathetic. So, like, if you understood that, okay, this person did kill themselves or off themselves because they went through this and this thing triggered them into, and so you have to realize that, well, that trauma, it's really hard to deal with. And so if you don't have control over your mind, which is why I talked about, I made sure I got control over my mind, because
Right.
I can't allow my mind to control me. The personality is where I think the soul is at. And so I think that's where you really have control over it. Your brain is still matter. It's still just cells and all that. Your personality comes from what you choose to be or who you choose to be. But most people don't even know who they are. They look in the
Right.
mirror and think that that's who they are, which that's not who you are. You are who you choose to be, and who you choose to be is going to be reflected in your actions or how you see or perceive the world. So when you're looking at how people respond to trauma, that's where it's easy for me to say, well, I can sympathize with them, because I don't think the person who they really would have chose to be would have made that decision, but based off of some sort of trauma that is causing some sort of reaction, which could be depression,
Right.
then those reactions that come from whatever it is that they're reacting from is what ultimately caused them to make the decision that they made. But it wasn't necessarily their personality. So that's where, to me, it gets kind of tricky. Like, if you ask somebody, who are you? Do you know who you are? Or if I ask you who you are, you're going to describe what you look like and some of the things you do, or do you really know who you are? And I think the biggest trait or variable when it comes to mental health is the fact that people don't know how to separate the two. Like, who you really are or who you think you're perceived at in the world, because that's who most people try to be, is whatever they think they're perceived as. And usually they get that image from what they look like in the mirror. It's a really, really complicated
Right.
psychology when it comes to humans. So I'm not trained. I did some research, to learn some of the stuff that I'm talking about and going inside myself to try to understand this stuff. So I'm trying to speak from experience and based off of knowledge of self. So I just want to reiterate, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
prescribing nothing. I'm not saying to you, believe what I'm saying. I'm only saying that because I know what I'm saying a little heavy. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it can make people start to think.
That's what the conversation is about. And I hope people have these conversations with their friends and families and really try to get down to the bottom of it. Um, here's Stacy. She says I was diagnosed with anxiety and stress, and they call that mentally ill. That's what I'm saying. Like it could be so many different things that they can say, or you could be diagnosed with that would say you're dealing with some sort of mental illness. And I know that my mom, she tells me that she, deals with anxiety and stress. And for a long time I couldn't understand it. I would just tell her, what you stressing out about? Just relax. Don't worry about stuff. Let that Not understanding that it might be something that she can't necessarily control. I had to really she had to really, kind of keep telling me and pounding it to me before I understand, okay, I'm not looking at this the right way. I have to look at this totally different. I have to be able to, you know, if I can't walk in the shoes, I have to just listen and understand what she's saying and sympathize for it and try to do whatever I can possibly do to not trigger something that will, you know, make, the anxiety or the stress come to be, because we know that it's unhealthy to be stressful. It's unhealthy. So it's a lot to it. It's a lot to mental health and mental illnesses that honestly I can't sit here and say I have a full grasp on. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to understand. But I do know that when I go out into my regular day to day, especially now when I meet people, I'm very patient with them. Somebody cut me off it's fine. They got something to do. I don't know what people are going through from day to day. I don't know what's in their mental. I don't know what they're dealing with. I I don't know them. So the best thing for me to do is that at all costs, don't judge them. Let them be, and you know, try to stay out the way. That's what when they say, "What you doing there, man?" I'm just trying to stay out the way. That's exactly what that means.
Well, me personally, somebody who's been diagnosed with mental health issues, I don't personally believe I still have them. And the reason why I say that is because I actually am in control of me. I am in control of my actions, how I'm going to perceive the world. And so when you talk about stress, you talk about anxiety or any other, because a lot of people have anxiety in this country, a lot of people stress. So when
Right.
you talk about those, it's hormones and chemicals that are changing inside of the body that releases things that make you feel stressed or anxiety, make you anxious or nervous or whatever it is. So it's some chemicals and hormones and things like that that's happening inside of you that make you feel the way you feel. And so I personally believe I'm not uh I'm a stoic dude, but I'm not a philosopher. But I do believe, because I study stoicism, I do believe your outlook on life, your outlook on the world, and your ability to turn a negative into positive, for example. So someone may say, I'm stressed because of work. Well, if you can look at it in a way where I may be stressed because of work, it's getting on my nerve. But if you can think about the millions of people who are looking for jobs, or the millions of people who don't have the opportunity to have jobs. So if you could turn your negative into a positive and change the outlook, a lot of times the way you look at the world is going to make you feel the way you feel. And so
Right.
stress really is producing a feeling of, drainage or fatigue or the anxiety or, angry, whatever it is, it's causing a feeling. Well, how do you reverse whatever feelings is you're feeling that are being caused by this stress and this anxiety? Well, in my mind, this is just personally what I believe from studying Stoicism. If you can change the way you look at things, then you can really change your experience on life. And that change will oftentimes, give you that control that you need, that you can either release the stress or anxiety, or you can get away from it by just flipping whatever it is that you're dealing with, flipping it to a positive outlook.
Right, right. I kind of agree with that. That's kind of, I didn't know I was stoical, practice stoicism, but that's how I pretty much go by day. It's a lot of things I can complain about that just ain't right, that I would like to be better, but I try to look at on the positive things and understanding that it could be worse.
It could be
You know,
worse.
it could be a lot worse. I'm reading this story back to the Marshawn Kneeland. I'm reading this story, and it says this is according to the Dallas Morning News. In the audio recording obtained by the news, Kneeland's girlfriend, who was not identified by authorities, told police Kneeland was armed, had a history of mental illness, and would end it all. Okay, that was his girlfriend. Police said Kneeland's girlfriend was trying to contact his agent. They were trying to find him because nobody knew where he was. And then on another note, I read that his family is saying that when they talk about him, that he was a kind, determined, humble, full of love. His light shined brightly in every life he touched, and his spirit will continue to live through other. So you hear that he's this kind, gentle, humble giant. He loves people. He treats people a certain way. But then his girlfriend saying he knows him to be mentally ill. He got guns and all this kind of thing. And it brought me to he's 24 years old. He's in training camp. He's with a football team. He goes to practice every day. He's around players. He's around coaches, general managers, front office people. I asked myself, should they have already known something was wrong with him mentally, or can you really be like a nice, kind, gentle, loving person, happy with everybody you meet, and then behind closed doors be ready to end it all? It's confusing to me.
I'm glad you just said that because I could use me as an example when I talk about this real quick.
Shout out
So
to Mad Knox in the building too. I wanted to give him a shout out, but go ahead.
most of my entire life, I somewhat played like the chameleon. If you were to go back wherever you wanted to, from high school on, everybody who talked about me would say he is the nicest guy. He's one of the kindest, sweetest. His heart is this, and that. But then on the flip side, you can find out that I've done some or come close to doing some really bad things to people because of anger, which is an emotion, and the lack of having control of myself. You'll be like, well, it be them same stories on the news. My son is this and this and that. He ain't never hurt nobody. But then your son out here
Right,
robbing folks out here, like you don't know the real person. So that's what
right,
it brings me right back to when I say either you're going to be in control of your mind and be who you choose to be, who you really are, that person, that personality, persona, or you could still be caught in the yin and yang, the two sides. That's where I think that whole two-faced thing come from,
Yeah,
because just
yeah,
about most people have two sides.
yeah. I
So
can get that.
if the question is why haven't they spotted it? Because it's easy to hide. It's easy to
It's,
be the good version of you when you need to be the good version of you. And then when that other version of you come out, it's around totally different people, cast of people who get to know the other side of you.
right.
So very few people are even keel. Very few people walking this earth is the same way all the time with everybody. Very few people. Most people are two different people.
Right. I
And
agree with that.
who's controlling the yin and who's controlling the yang?
You know what?
So
That's an interesting thing that you brought that up, that you said those words, because I'm just gonna speak from my own my own self, and why I believe that some people are mentally stronger than others. I, for what you just said, I believe that I'm mentally strong. I have this other side of me. I call it my ego side. My ego has to constantly be put in check. This side, this other side of me, I have conversations with this guy every day. This dude is brutal. This dude is atrocious. This dude don't give a damn about nothing and nobody. But that person should never
and I know
be
both
able.
sides.
That person should never be able to walk this earth. You know what I'm saying? So I keep that person locked in, and one of the ways that I find that I keep this person locked in is to expose it, to talk about them, to let people know. Now this other side, I think sometimes the best ego killer in the world is to apologize to somebody. If you do something wrong, apologize and say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have did this. That shames the ego and put that ego to the back, because the ego don't want to apologize, because the ego don't want to be exposed for being something that he is. So my point in saying that is, sometimes I think I say, man, I hope that it doesn't ever get to a point where maybe I get older or maybe something happens to me that I can't control that anymore. And it's just, it goes haywire. And I think that sometimes, and this is just my thinking, I could be wrong. That's why I want to have a discussion. I think some people can't control that other person that's inside of them. Some people can do it sometimes, and that's why they wishy-washy. Sometimes they this way, and sometimes they cool. Some people just can't ever control it. And you might sometimes be like, man, he was a nice guy, but then most people know him. No, he's not. He's a terror of the earth. And so I just don't know. This is something that, through experience and talking to other people, I'm trying to gather, I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to process, so that I can sympathize with people who are dealing with things when I might not be able to recognize it.
Yeah. So I think it's a good side and a bad side to everybody. But it's one person controlling it, unless you allow the other person to control it. But
Right.
it's really just one you. A lot of us just don't know how to control that bad side of us, that side of us that'll risk it all, be dangerous, or mistreat somebody, or whatever the case is. Some of us don't know how to control that bad side, so we let the emotions do it. We let the reaction come from the bad side. But yeah, that's what I believe. Like that. That's why I said the yin and yang, like the good and the
Right.
bad side of you. Like, you control both of them if you try to be in control and you understand that you're
Right.
in control. But if those two things, if both versions are in control of you whenever the time is right, then you don't actually have control. It's
Yeah,
really your
right.
brain that's controlling it all.
Well, that's why I was, you said something earlier about trauma. And I do believe that past trauma has a lot to do with, I don't know, for lack of a better word, I call them demons. That that quote unquote bad side that's going through some things that feels like a certain kind of way is, I just use myself as an example. I think I've always been a happy person. I always wanted to be happy, but I also was angry. I had reasons. I'm not just dive into them all day, but I was angry coming up, and that anger, I wanted to lash out. I wanted to get that anger out, and I was, for the most part, was able to hold it in, but sometimes I wasn't able to hold it in because I wanted people to feel me. I wanted somebody to understand that I got this pain going on. And as I grew older and able to understand more of me, like you said, understanding who you are, I've been able to say, okay, I understand where that's coming from. I understand why sometimes in my head, I be like, what's up, old pussy ass nigga, just for no reason in my head. Talk to nobody, but I kind of understand, okay, that come from a hurt place. That come from being angry. That come from me wanting to lash out for whatever reasons it was that I was angry. So, how much do you I was going to ask you, how much do you attribute trauma to that bruised side of people, of humans?
Well, because trauma is happening inside of us, it stays inside of us. It's inside of us. If you were to go study that, it's some psychologists who wrote this theory about it, trauma being on the inside. I can't remember his name, Gomer or something like that. But anyway, because that's happening on the inside of us, that will play a part in your reaction because you're reacting to the trauma because it ain't went nowhere. And so that's why they always say people need therapy so you can deal with the trauma. Correct. But even in dealing with the traumas, you don't remove the traumatic situation, so it could pop up at any time. And so that's why I was saying you have to really understand that you, the person, has to be in control at all times, because what you were just saying about yourself personally, I've seen you have your explosive moments, and that would basically be the same thing they diagnosed me with, intermittent explosive disorder, IED. So it's when you have a reaction that's so violent or so loud or so extreme. That's the right word. So extreme, it's beyond any norm that you've been living. It becomes extreme. So when you have those moments, you just said it, you've gotten to understand where it comes from. So now you can control it better. So that means that you understand you are in control. The person is in control, but your brain was causing those reactions. And sometimes, oftentimes it probably will come from trauma. But we need to understand as humans that this trauma is happening on the inside of us and it don't go nowhere. So you better deal with it so you can have the right outlook, because if you don't, then it's going to come up and it could cause you to do some things that you wish you had not have done. You had not have done. But you are doing it, or people will think you're doing it because your body doing it. But it may not be you if you lost control. Because you allowed the brain and the reactions and the trauma to take over the body and cause the body to do all these, whatever it is. This reaction is. So
let me, and I'm laughing at this comment in the chat about this person named Pamela. And I don't know. I personally think I've met Pamela a few times, but maybe I didn't want to meet Pamela. But that's not here nor there. Look, that brings me to this story that I'm about to read now. 5 months, and this is according to CBS Sports. 5 months after authorities in Miami-Dade, Florida, issued a warrant for the arrest of former NFL star Antonio Brown for attempted murder with a firearm, the Super Bowl winning pass catcher is in custody. Police say Brown was extradited from Dubai to the United States to face trial, according to the Miami Herald. Now, Brown was involved on May 16th altercation following a celebrity boxing event in Miami. Several videos from the incident circulated on social media. Antonio Brown says that they were trying to rob him of his chains, and then I saw him, in the fight with some guys, and then he went and got a gun. He chased them, but I don't know if he shot. I don't know what happened. I know he was detained that same night by the police. He gave a statement, and then they let him go. It was water under the bridge. Now all of a sudden, and they want Antonio Brown to face attempted murder charges. Now, I personally think they're picking on Antonio Brown, but my whole point of bringing this story up is Antonio Brown be wilding out. We all know Antonio Brown be wilding. I like him, but I like him for football reasons. I think he's the second best wide receiver I've ever seen. I'm not trying to debate that with nobody right now. That's just my personal opinion. But Antonio Brown, most believe that he's suffering from some sort of mental health illness. And even though many people, if not most people, believe that he's suffering from some sort of mental health illness, possibly from playing football and getting hit in the head a few times, people don't seem to sympathize with Antonio Brown at all. They just say he's wild, he's a nutcase, he's crazy. There's no sympathy for Antonio Brown whatsoever. Now, the guy who supposedly got into the altercation with Antonio Brown, I was listening to him speak earlier, and he says that Antonio Brown actually was trying to fight him, and then the fight broke out. Antonio Brown swung first, and they got in the fight, and the guy asked him, he said, well, what would make him just come and swing on you? You think he just did this for no reason? Then the guy said, well, I kind of was jabbing at him about something he did earlier in the past to me about how, he was a sucker for doing it. So a person who you believe is suffering from mental health illness, you did something intentionally to trigger that person. That brings me back to the question that this show topic is about. Do we really care and or sympathize with people who have mental health issues, whether they're diagnosed by a professional or we diagnose them based on their actions in life? Do we really care?
Man, that's such a hard question to answer because you, on one hand, you can say if people care, they'll give them some help. Well, you gotta want to be helped to get help, and then you'll say, well, if he won't go get help, then he causing these problems on himself. And I just say it's a lack of self-control, and he's having what they would diagnose likely as mental health issues, according to some of his history and his circumstances that he's gotten himself into, and situations that we've seen play out. One might say he has some mental health issues. Now, until I hear him say it, I don't know.
Okay, I'm probably gonna let you get. So if somebody who may be dealing with health issues, but if they don't say for themselves, they don't diagnose themselves as having mental health issues, then we shouldn't take it seriously. Like, I just don't understand. Like, if somebody has serious, deep mental health issues, they might not even want to. I know, but they might not want to even believe that they dealing with something. Their mind is just telling them whatever their mind is telling them, that they finding that this is right and this is wrong, and he did this to me, and I should act this way, when everything that person is thinking could be the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is until you know, you don't know. So we speculating, I guess, that he has mental health issues. I personally believe he does, but I also don't really believe that. Hold on, but that's the thing. I don't believe it. That's right for them to continue to diagnose people with mental health issues. What I think they should be doing is teaching people about being in self-control, which is understanding you and understanding you in control, kind of like what I had been talking about this whole time. Like, until you get control of your brain, until you choose to be who you want to be, you're just gonna be wilding out. So somebody like him, I'm sure he didn't live some traumas. You know where he from?
Right,
Florida.
right, right,
Wild, wild Florida, man. I believe down in Dade County, man. I know about Dade County, man. It's turned
right.
up down there. If that's where he's from,
I
I
think he
believe
from
he is.
what
But
they call Liberty City or whatever.
yeah, I believe that's down in Miami,
Right,
Dade County,
right,
if I'm not
right,
mistaken. But I just know you when you come up rough and you've had some rough experiences, you living with this.
right.
They say you are the sum of your experiences. So you believe that's who you are based off your experiences. And if your life full of trauma,
I
then
agree.
that pain is gonna be poured on the other people unless you can get it in check. And that's gonna require you having control, which is gonna require you having understanding and some other things like so until you know you don't know, and so he's going to continue to be out of control until either someone teaches him how to get in control, or if
Yeah,
he can get diagnosed so he can understand, hey, I need to work on this or I need to do something about it. So
right.
it's such a difficult question for me to talk about because I kind of understand or look at things a little different from the average person. They'll look at it from science, and I look at it more from a philosophy. And if you can live by a certain philosophy, then you can overcome mental health issues, which I think is just a ripoff. That's just
I mean,
allowing people to be
no,
out of control.
no. I think,
Not all people, I'm saying in a lot of cases, they're just
right.
ripping people off, allowing them to be out of control instead of really getting them to get in control.
Well, see, this is where I'm I'm confused because I really don't know. I do believe that therapy might be a good thing for a lot of people. I do believe that a lot of definitely black people in America are dealing with some sort of mental health issues because you you come up
Trauma.
in a system that tells you to be everything except for who you were designed to be by the most high universe. You were designed to be a human being who love people, who eat, but you're in the capitalist society that says in order for you to make it, you might have to do some things that go way against your moral compass. But that's what you have to do. And I think there's a struggle mentally for a lot of us when we come up. So we deal with all sort of mental traumas that we carry with us from from our youth on up. I believe that therapy would be good for a lot of people, but also my issue is that a lot of times when people go see these doctors, or you got parents who take their children to go see these doctors to try to figure out what's going on with them, one of the first things they try to do is push pills on them. They push this medicine on them, and then that medicine turns them to something way other than who they really are. It slows them down. It causes them to be almost zombie-like. And so I do agree that people need help and we need to seek some sort of professional help. Maybe it's therapy, maybe it's a doctor, but to at what cost is it too much? Like sometimes the diagnosis calls for something damaging to that person, where it's better off that they would just remain who they were, in my opinion.
See, I'm a little bit against doctors because I think the problem, the answer to the problem is a little different. I think the doctors aren't solving any problems; they just diagnosing people. And medicine isn't rooted in any sort of foundation. Like it's just there to treat something. But what I believe we're missing is people aren't built on the foundation, whether it's a philosophy or religion. I don't believe there's enough people that study religion or, whether it's the Bible, Quran, whatever it is, that can build a foundation on how you should move as a human being versus most people nowadays in society just living based off of societal norms. Well, societal norms aren't exactly built around the foundation of righteousness in any kind of way. It's just built off trying to make things fair. It's not really built off righteousness. So until we get our foundation as humans on how we should try to live, then I don't think anything's going to solve the problem. Doctors aren't going to do it. They're just going to prescribe you medicines that are going to change chemical balances inside of your body that are going to make you act a certain way based off of those chemical reactions. So I don't think that's the answer. I think you got to have a foundation, a core set of values and
Right.
everything in order to live a certain type of way. Plus, you need understanding of self. So if
Right.
you're not self-aware, in self-control, then you're just gonna live societal norms, and societal norm makes it look like it's normal for people to do dumb shit,
Yeah. Right.
go crazy,
Exactly.
go off.
Right.
That looks like what societal norm is, So
Right.
I don't think until we fix that problem or get people grounded in a way where they can be fundamentally righteous, as
Yeah.
humans, then I don't think mental health going
I
anywhere.
I think yeah, I often say because I believe that's impossible because we have so many people on the planet that and you have so many different ideals and philosophies that some people it'll never get it. You talking about living in the country, just the United States alone, where most people philosophy is let me get as much money as I can,
Mhm.
and they don't have any moral standards. Their character is low, and what you kind of find out is this young man, Marshawn Kneeland, he was in the NFL. Young man, 24. For a 24-year-old, he was doing real good for himself financially.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. He still took his life. Antonio Brown, we know what kind of money he was making in the NFL. He got some good checks. At one point, he was the highest paid wide receiver in all of football. And his money, it ain't helping him. We've seen, throughout our whole lifetime, billionaires, multi-millionaires jump off buildings, kill themselves. They dealing with drug overdoses. At some point, to your point, and I agree, you have to be grounded in humanity, or else you liable to go over the edge based
Yeah. You're gonna
on
live in chaos.
some sort of societal norm, something that you saw on TV or heard on the radio, and you decided to run with it, and it had nothing to do with you as a human being. So, I just hope this conversation is something that people can discuss with their families, with their children, with their friends. And I hope it's something that we can all kind of be more patient with our neighbor, be more patient with the people that we come across to on a day-to-day basis, understanding that we don't know what's going on inside of their skull. And they could take one thing wrong said or one action that was wrong done because you got caught up in your feelings on how you felt about something that you wanted to lash out at what somebody else did. That person can turn around and do some bad things to you, and then do some bad things to themselves. So yeah, I just want people to really sympathize with other people, love people. I'm gonna let you get the last word.
Well, my last word would be simple, man. I would love and I wish this upon everyone. They just seek understanding. Understanding of all that they're able to understand. And it's just too broad to talk about everything. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Just
Yeah,
seek understanding.
yeah. This is a deep conversation. I think I'm gonna have to do a part two because It is a deep conversation. And I would like to have other people involved in the conversation as well to see where they at. I also what I'm going to try to do this week for next week is I would like to hear, even though I believe all your points are like A1. I can agree with you. I can understand. But as you said yourself, you're not a doctor. I'm interested in hearing how someone who diagnoses people as mental ill, how do they view the subject and the situation? Because this mental illness thing, man, it really hit home today when you see a young man, 24 years old, not even in his prime of life or his career, doing well playing NFL football, just scored a touchdown on Monday, primetime football, Monday night football, and here we go, 3 days later, dead from self-inflicted gun wounds. It just man, it's really tragic, and it's really hard to believe, man. It's really hard to believe. But to everybody, I just hope y'all, cherish your family, cherish your loved ones, cherish your friends, and most importantly, cherish yourself. If you believe that you need help, if you believe that you might be going through something mentally, please go and seek help. It's okay to go and seek therapy. It's okay. When we were coming up, it was frowned upon. People joked you about it. That's not the case. It's okay. Matter of fact, it should be applauded if you go and seek help to find yourself and to find peace and resolve. So Romero, I really appreciate you coming through, man. I really appreciate you showing up. Legit checkup. What's up, man? I hope you go back,
Thanks for having me.
watch the show and chime in the chat. Leave your comments in the chat. Stacey McKenzie, Mad Knox, Built for This Radio Network. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe button and share with somebody. Start the conversation about mental health and mental health illness, and just see if we can help one another. I love y'all. Until next time, y'all already know what time it is. Same suit, just reheated, and Naughty for President 2025. I'ma holler at y'all.
Not
Peace.
the president.